In the beginning of the story, we see a group of 3 girls who are killed by a large man and taken to a location. Then, the man beats up all 3 girls. One of the girls manages to escape and run away, but when the man spots her, he kills her as well. Now, the scene shifts to a girl named Beth, who arrives at a restaurant. The restaurant owner asks her if she is lost, and she replies, "Yes, I am not from around here. I am a journalist, and I've come to research the deserted hospital." As soon as she reveals her purpose, all the people around start looking at her. They warn her that the place is haunted and she shouldn't go there. However, she dismisses their concerns, considering it just a rumor, and insists on going there for research. An old man stands up and advises her not to go, as nobody who has gone there has returned alive. Despite the warning, Beth remains determined and leaves. She eventually reaches the hospital but finds it closed. Then, the fat man from earlier named Stanley appears. He informs her that he takes care of the place. Beth explains that she's a journalist and there to conduct research. She asks if he can take her inside, and Stanley agrees, showing her around the whole hospital. However, he takes advantage of a moment and attacks her from behind, rendering her unconscious. He then drags her to the hospital basement and kills her. The scene shifts to Krista, who is very interested in paranormal activity. She's watching a video of her favorite paranormal investigator who mentions going to a haunted location and forming a team. Excited, Krista registers for the team and gets selected. We meet 2 people named Alan and Jack, who are assistants of the investigator. They arrive at the hospital with a team of 2 girls. The investigator instructs Alan and Jack to plan and scare the girls, making them believe the place is haunted. There are 5 girls in the team who are fascinated by paranormal activities. The investigator decides to stay outside to control everything. Meanwhile, Stanley emerges from the basement, terrifying the girls. Alan introduces Stanley as the caretaker of the place and starts sharing the hospital's haunted history. According to local belief, nobody has returned alive from the hospital. One of the girls, Mallory, becomes interested in Jack. Stanley goes back to the basement where he had previously tied up Beth. Beth pleads to be released, but Stanley ignores her and prepares to harm her again. At that moment, Alan calls Stanley, making him angry. Alan then pretends to be a ghost to frighten girls, successfully scaring them. Jack also manages to scare Mallory and Krista. At night, Mallory confesses to Krista that she's fallen for Jack and is going to his room. Krista warns her to be cautious, as she suspects Jack is a fraud. However, Mallory ignores the warning and goes to Jack's room. Stanley is shown attacking and killing her. The next day, Stanley cleans up the bloodstains from the bed. A girl notices and asks what happened, and Stanley lies, saying he spilled a drink. The girl offers to help him, since she is very helpful by nature. But Stanley refuses. When all those people get together, Mallory is not there. Krista asks everyone, "Where is Mallory?" But no one had the answer to this. Then they all start looking for Mallory. They divide themselves into 2 teams and begin the search. While Alan and the 2 girls are looking for Mallory, something strange happens. The windows and doors automatically close and open, which frightens them. The 2 girls decide to leave the area. Meanwhile, Stanley is at the reception and administers an unconscious injection to himself. He returns to the doctor and asks for the same injection again. Seizing the opportunity, he administers it once more. However, he suddenly hears the voices of the girls upstairs. He hurries upstairs and warns them to stay away from his basement, saying, "Don't come to my basement." One of the girls replies that they never went to the basement. Alan and Jack also arrive at this point. Stanley accuses the girls of lying, but Alan confirms that they're telling the truth, as they were with him the whole time. Realizing his mistake, Stanley apologizes to them and leaves. Back on the bed, the effects of the unconscious medicine wear off, and Mallory starts running away from there. Then the spirits of the 2 girls appear in front of her, revealing that Stanley did the same to them. Now, in another scene, a girl is taking a shower when she hears a voice. She comes out to check, thinking it's a prank, but finds no one there. Assuming it was nothing, she resumes her shower. Unbeknownst to her, Stanley is secretly watching her. The girl notices him and pleads for him to leave, but Stanley starts following her with a knife, and she runs away in fear. She eventually finds Jack and explains that Stanley has gone mad and is pursuing her. Suddenly, Alan attacks her from behind, rendering her unconscious. Later, it's revealed that Alan, Jack, and Stanley were working together. Alan instructs Stanley to carry the unconscious girl to his room and realizes that a medicine for unconsciousness is missing from his bag. Although he suspects Stanley, he doesn't say anything. The 3 of them then proceed to torture the girls. Alan and Jack used to work for a porn website where they kidnapped and tortured girls, creating videos for profit. They put pressure on the girls and start making videos of them while unconscious. One of the girls is defiant, and Alan becomes violent, pulling out her teeth and assaulting her. At this point, the story shifts to Krista and another girl, who encounter the spirits of the two deceased girls, learning what happened to them. Outside the hospital, a crowd from the city gathers upon hearing the screams. Stanley takes them down one by one to protect himself. Meanwhile, Alan and Jack tie up one of the girls and continue their heinous acts, ignoring her pleas for mercy. They proceed to mutilate her, cutting her breast, and ultimately, Jack kills her with a knife. He calls Stanley to help dispose of the body, but just as Stanley attempts to engage in a disturbing act with the corpse, Beth attacks him from behind, rendering him unconscious. Beth manages to escape. In the next scene, Beth is at the police station with her father, where she recounts everything that happened in the hospital. However, the police are skeptical and don't believe her. They promise to investigate and send Beth home. Later, the sergeant tells the officer to pay attention to Beth's case, as he believes she might be telling the truth. Jack was getting very upset, and Alan noticed his distress. Concerned, Alan asked Jack about the reason for his trouble. Jack then revealed that a girl had taken his phone and called her brother, who was on his way. Alan advised Jack to stay alert, given the situation. Meanwhile, the girl's brother was heading to the hospital with his wife. At the hospital, Alan and Stanley encountered another girl and decided to make a video with her. In an unsettling manner, Alan informed the girl that they were going to treat her poorly. They proceeded to harm her physically. At the same time, Jack decided to express his emotions through art and began painting using his own blood. On the other side of the story, an officer arrived at the hospital to conduct an investigation. When Jack heard the officer's voice, he decided to confront him outside. Jack faced the officer, who pointed a gun at him and asked for his identity. Jack claimed to be a student there for research purposes. Strangely, the officer seemed to see a small girl's soul and asked Jack about her, but Jack couldn't perceive her presence. The officer noticed bloodstains, but was suddenly attacked by Stanley from behind and rendered unconscious. They proceeded to create a video with the officer and set up a device that killed him. In a separate room, Chris and the girl they had encountered could see a soul, which helped them escape through a door. Alan and Jack chased after them. In the meantime, a sergeant arrived at the scene and the girls sought his help, explaining everything that had happened. The sergeant asked Alan if the girls were telling the truth, but he denied it. Shockingly, the sergeant shot one of the girls, causing Chris to faint. It became evident that the sergeant was also involved with Alan and Jack. The sergeant informed them that a girl had fled to the police station. Alan and Jack were surprised because they hadn't seen any girl escaping. The sergeant revealed that Stanley had been bringing girls there for horrible purposes. Alan scolded Stanley for his actions, worried that they could have been caught due to his mistakes. This led to a heated confrontation between Stanley and Alan, but the sergeant intervened and calmed everyone down, sending them back to their tasks. The girl's brother arrived at the hospital and attacked Stanley, but Stanley overpowered him and harmed him and his wife while Alan and Jack recorded the events. Afterward, they killed them and disposed of the bodies in the basement. However, Jack and Stanley started experiencing visions of the girls they had harmed, which filled them with fear. As Alan and the sergeant were enjoying themselves, they heard a voice. Investigating, the sergeant encountered a vengeful soul seeking to kill them all because they had murdered and raped him. The soul took revenge on each of them one by one. Krishna was the only one left alive, and he decided to leave the hospital. However, a paranormal investigator arrived and asked him about the incident. In response, Krishna punched the investigator and left the scene. And with that, friends, the movie comes to an end. How did you like this movie exploration? If you enjoyed the video, remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching.